everybody. I'm Neil Sponsel, lead singer of Moonshine Mafia and your host of Local Bands of Georgia. And we have another fantastic episode for you to where we're going to have these two gentlemen talk about their journey in music, to where they started, where they're at now, and where they're looking to go out in the future. Right now, I have with me Tom Dickenson and Adam McCorkle. Thank you guys for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. It's always great to be able to hear other musicians throughout the Georgia area and just trying to build you guys up and spread the word on what you guys are doing. So I can't thank you enough for being here.
Well, thanks for having us.
And this is a great layout. I love the studio and everything that you guys got going on. But how'd you guys meet?
Well, one of my friends that I didn't know Adam knew hit me up and said, "Hey, I know you're playing around and your buddy just left town, and I got a guy that you might want to meet, and he needs a duo going on." So I gave him a call, and next thing you know, we hit it off and sounded pretty good together, and we clicked.
Yeah, we've been playing together since January, and the gigs keep coming. So we're having a great time getting our harmonies real tight and just getting to know each other on the stage, knowing what certain facial expressions mean when you're playing.
I gotcha. I understand totally. All right. Well, where did things get started with you?
So with me, I had an older cousin named Mike who got me started playing when I was 13 years old.
Okay.
He taught me how to tune a guitar, play some power chords, a few open chords, and from there on, back then, during the 90s, we were playing by ear. There wasn't the internet where you could look up all the songs. Tablature it came out in magazines once a month, and you had to live with what songs they gave you at that time.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's how it started with me. I played in rock bands around Augusta, Georgia for probably from age 15 to about 20 or so, and came up to Atlanta to go to college and just kind of put it all behind me for a while.
Gotcha. When did you get started?
I was born in Washington, D.C. and grew up in Maryland. Me and my brothers started playing with the help of my dad, putting on the Beatles' White Album when I was just a little peewee, and I was hooked ever since. So we played a lot in Maryland and Ocean City, Maryland during the summers, and then I got the fork in the road whether to go one way or the other, and I chose corporate America and kind of left the music behind for a little bit, and then after a while I realized how much I missed it, and so I'm back in the saddle.
Yeah, it's in your blood and never leaves. It always brings you back, or at least it does its best to bring you back to it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I did the college thing, career thing, family thing, and then full circle around back at music.
Back into it.
Yeah.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Oh yes.
Beautiful.
It's like reuniting with a best friend.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. What would you guys say that your musical influences are?
Mine are all across the board. And that's kind of, if you ever come to one of my shows, you'll see that with some of my song selection. I'll play anything from George Michael's to Paula Abdul to Alice in Chains to George Jones, Conway Twitty. I've just had a lot of exposure to a lot of different types of music throughout my life, and that comes out in what I play and what I choose.
Yeah, for me, goes back to me and my brothers, and our name was a three-piece band. It's Bittersweet Three, and the reason why we named that was we had such a variety of anything playing. I'm going way back now. Anything playing from America to the Eagles to Alice Cooper. So that was kind of our bitter and our sweet. We started off with a little sweetness starting it off, and then once we got the people going, that's when we started cranking it up and getting some really good old rock and roll.
Nice. Now, what is all the instruments that you play at?
Well, I started playing electric guitar. Some people might have said I was playing lead guitar when I was younger, but mostly rhythm, some lead stuff, pentatonic, very simple stuff.
Okay.
Then kind of as an adult now, I wanted to get back out there, but I didn't want to start off with all the drama of a band and the coordination and the practice. So I just started doing the solo thing. Picked up acoustic guitar really for the first time. Um, I'd owned maybe one cheap acoustic guitar before, but never really played it that much. So as later in my adulthood, picking up the acoustic, I kind of cowboy chord through a lot of things
Gotcha.
and just focus on the singing right now.
All right. How about you?
I started out playing the drums when I was real little, and I loved it, and it seemed like all of us kind of the family kind of fell in place. I had a sister also who played piano, and so she kind of when she went off to college, we kind of had to figure out the three-piece band. But there was a lot of three-piece bands back then too.
There were,
You know,
yeah.
there was we had ZZ Top, of course, that started off with three-piece band, Three Dog Night, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was really cool, and it's just I loved it. I can play. I started off with drums, and it's so ironic that when COVID came knocking on everybody's door, you know, everybody shut down, bands shut down, everything, and then when things started loosening up, um, somebody told me about, hey, you ought to just play a cajon, and I didn't even know what a cajon was. So next thing you
So
know,
what is a cajon for
all right,
people that don't know what a cajon is?
cajon is it's like a Bose radio, but it's the way it's designed. It's a box. The top is like a snare. The bottom is like the bass. So you kind of got to learn the whole thing because you're used to hitting the bass with your with your foot, and then the sides are like a bongo. So, and then you can really change it up. If you got your foot on the right thing, and then they've got pedals to kind of hit it, and it was pretty cool. And then that was the only thing that really opened up when people were bringing bands back, or I'll just say music back to restaurants or small bars. You were going to be in that little corner,
Yeah.
and who's going to put a kit in the corner? But it was perfect, and next thing you know, I'm playing that thing and making it sound good. I think everybody likes it. They tell me. So, and then I picked up the harmonica again. I used to play it when I was a little kid, and all of a sudden I I picked it up and trying to mix in with the music, and I think it sounds pretty good. Makes me feel good.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was watching a clip that they were playing me a clip when I got here of them playing a duo act, and Tom was killing the harmonica over there. So
Thank you.
it's pretty freaking awesome. I love that instrument. I'm no good at it.
Yeah. I play solo, but also duo with Tom.
Yeah.
And when I play solo now, after we've played together so often, I still hear Tom in the background
Yeah,
in my
of
head.
course.
It's such a fuller sound having the two of us together
Absolutely.
versus doing the solo.
Now, how did you get into singing, Adam?
So I didn't sing when I was younger playing, and then as an older adult, I wanted to do this solo thing, and so what I ended up doing was, and it was kind of during this whole COVID thing was kind of coming and going, but there was a few places around here that opened mics and had live music, and I was like, man, I really want to go do that, and so I started with karaoke because everybody that goes to karaoke, if you're bad, it doesn't matter because that's the expectation,
Right.
So I did some karaoke for probably about 3 to 6 months, and I always had a goal of if I'm going out, I got to do at least 2 songs, and it kind of helped with the stage presence, stage fright, and everything, but also just um, refining the instrument. It's a lot of muscle memory and
Right.
stuff, and I spent like $15 on some online video lessons. It was like 22 hours worth of lessons, and I went through most of them. But there's some of the exercises that I still do. When me and Tom carpool to a gig, I'm like, "All right, Tom, it's time," and I turn on the radio and do these scales
Yeah.
and just get the voice going right before a show, you know.
I hear you.
But yeah, I did the karaoke for a while, then did open mics, and just as a kind of natural progression of the open mics, I had met some great musicians in the area, and they were just very open and just the mentorship. Josh Shepard's was great. He's been a great friend of mine and showed me the industry and kind of showed me all the ins and outs and stuff. But started with some of his open mics that he was doing at Huey Louie's in Highlands on Wednesdays, and just over time, gigs started. Hey, we had a last minute cancellation. Could you come in, kind of thing? And so
Gotcha.
that's kind of how it all started.
Awesome. Are you singing, Tom?
Yeah, I've always been a backup singer.
Yeah.
So, again, back in the days, Eagles, everybody sang.
Oh, absolutely.
So you had to, you had to fill it in and learn real quick. So, but I like bringing that to the table because it's just I love the harmonies, and I just when you got a good harmony going on, it's just nothing better, along with good music.
Absolutely. So how often are you guys getting out there and gigging, would you say?
So I probably overcommit. I'm doing probably on average 2 gigs a week, usually a Friday and a Saturday, and probably me and Tom play 2 or 3 times a month, probably.
Yeah.
And just when it seems like we're almost out of gigs, then here comes some more. So
Absolutely.
we got that pipeline working for us. So.
That means that the word of mouth is getting around that you guys need to be booked. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, most of my followers are from back at home, so they're not going to come around, down the street, come to see us at a gig, but they like to see the clips and everything. So
yeah.
They wish I was back home.
But. Yeah. I think a key part of it is being able to read the room. And if you try a song and you see that you get no response or a negative response, you need to switch it up and try to find out where's that happy spot for that crowd, and then work it. And in some places it takes a little longer than others, but we're getting pretty good at that. And we're building up a library of cover tunes, plus some originals and stuff, and we tend to do pretty well with the crowd.
Nice. I want you to understand, they said something very key is reading the room. If you're not able to read the room, then you're going to miss a lot of people that's out there, especially when there's a lot of different cover songs or even the original songs. You can hit your original songs that are kind of in the same genre of something. Oh, this hit really well. I can probably slide this in here and ask them what they think. So that's a very good key point that you brought out is being able to read the room. That's fantastic advice.
The unicorn gigs are when people are up dancing and stuff. That
yeah.
happens every once in a while, but I look for people, their lips are they're singing along, their foot's tapping, or maybe they're moving around a little bit. But also too, I've noticed that you also got to tend to give people a break. If you hit them with a lot of fast, upbeat songs, take a step back, play something slow, make sure it's something that they would be familiar with, and just kind of give their ears a break and give our vocals a break too. So.
I hear you on that one. So you're doing solos, and then you guys are doing duos. Have you considered putting a band together, or are you just like where it's at right now?
Well, with full bands, you've got a lot more to coordinate.
Absolutely.
A lot of different personalities, but yeah, I miss playing my full kit. I got 2 of them at home, so I got electronic kit, and then I got my regular acoustical. But I really miss it. But I like stepping back and hitting the cajon and just, I don't know, it gives that way back when it all kind of started. You had to hit something, and I think the cajon was probably the first thing next to a 5-gallon bucket that you can get close to. So
yeah, for sure about the band thing. It's like again, I started solo. It was a little bit of a leap of faith. It's like I hadn't played with musicians in a band for over 20 years, so so syncing up with Tom, we've come a long way since January, and I think we're trying to figure out if maybe a lead guitarist is next or a bass player. I think if we go bass player, he's going to go to full kit, but if we go to lead guitarist next, he can probably still do a lot of gigs on the Cajon.
Okay.
We're thinking about it. We got to find the
Gotcha.
right person, the right style, but yeah, we're moving in that
Well,
direction.
I'm sure you're probably going to have some people contacting you after the video goes out. So if you guys want to play with these guys, get in line. What would you say now if say you put something out there? I know you're playing all different types with the two of you guys together. If you did happen to start a band, where do you want to be in the style of music that you're going to play?
That's a very interesting question because we throughout since December, I put together this home studio. Um, Took a lot of online videos to watch and figure out how to make it all work. Recorded some stuff and put it out there. But everything that I wrote and what came out is not necessarily the style that I thought the direction I wanted to go.
Understandable.
And I think over time, that resolving into my own style will happen. But I like the story. I like the stories of the songs that I put out. Put out was in May. Me and Tom worked together from like maybe January to May or so, and put out a 5-song EP. And it's got everything in it. When you're doing I was all this recordings pretty much for the first time and learning how to tune in everything. I've got a cousin named Lee that he worked in one of the studios in Nashville for a while, and so he gave me a lot of pointers, helped with the mixing and stuff. But that in and of itself is like learning another instrument, learning how to mix and master and stuff. So, but yeah, I think if I was going to put something in there, a wedge, I would say probably somewhere like Whiskey Myers. I really like Stephen Wilson Jr. Recently. Brent Cobb, great songwriters. I like the stories behind the songs, but also the music too.
All right.
Yeah, and I like to keep the style because it's embodied in me is like a Eagles type band. I still like those harmonies, and I love the music. And if I could keep that style, that's the kind of writing I'd like to do.
So you'd probably want 3 to 4 part harmonies.
Always.
7 Bridges Road type.
Got it. Yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah,
that's the stuff that really gets me.
Yeah, I totally understand. Harmonies are, you don't hear it a lot of the times when you're going out and listening to duos. You really don't hear it a whole lot when you're going out into the band scene, which is extremely tough to find. It's just people just going out there and playing. But once you start hearing harmonies, that sets you apart from everybody else. So I'm glad you guys are talking about that.
Yeah.
So you guys brought up kind of a small segue into, we're talking about the album Second Time Through, and so you recorded everything yourself and distributed it.
Yep.
Awesome. I did not know that.
I had to figure all that out. It's
a lot of work,
and it's still a lot of mystery. But I figured out the basics and got it out there.
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
He was showing me, and it blew my mind. I was just like,
it's a lot.
Yes.
What kind of program are you using?
I'm using Logic. I bit the bullet and bought a Mac Studio and got the Logic, and I've got a Behringer audio interface. I've got a really nice former Soviet Union condenser mic.
Oh wow! Okay,
it's kind of like a collector's item, but I used that during all the recording and stuff. But yeah, I did all the laying down all the stems, did all the comping here, and then shipped it off to my cousin to do all the mixing, and then figured out how to do DistroKid, MLC memberships, and then your BMI ASCAP. You got to figure all that stuff out, and I don't. How much does it matter if you're not making money off of it? Probably not a lot, but still. you never know. You know, there's
Yeah.
always one hit wonders out there.
I hear you. I hear you. I'm glad you had said DistroKid. I was wondering what distribution you went through. I use DistroKid as well.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of good things about Logic and stuff like that. But I wanted to get into, you wrote all this music. Daddy's Home. Tell me a little bit about how that came about.
Okay. Um, so I have a son who's 22, about to be 22 now, finishing up college out at West Georgia. And I was a baseball coach for 10 years.
Okay.
So it's interesting. As a kid, I played baseball. As an adult, I played baseball too for 10 years, coaching all these kids, and it was so much fun. But there was this one kid that, he lived with his mom, and then him and mom moved in with her parents. And then over time, I think mom met another man kind of thing. And I just kind of put a story together around that kid, and the whole part of the story is, hey, at a young age, he left his dad, never to see him again, kind of thing. Went with mom to live with the grandparents. Mom ran off with another man. He stayed there with grandmother until she passed away. But he always missed his dad, and he never knew his dad. So after his grandma passed away, and there wasn't his work there was done on the farm. He drove to his dad's house and went back to go meet his dad again.
Gotcha. It's a great story. It's one of my favorites off the EP. I'm going to get into my absolute favorite in a little bit, but tell me about this. This song is really interesting to me. Is the Rock Bottom Road? How did we come about with that one?
Okay, that's a good one. Where I grew up, near Augusta, there was a lot of poverty around. Had some military families around the Fort Gordon there. Had other people that that came from families of farmers and stuff. And a lot of people didn't have money out there. And I just saw a lot of people that I grew up with that could never just rise up out of that situation. And they grew up in it, and they continue to live in that kind of environment. Lots of hard drugs and just never being able to get away from living paycheck to paycheck.
Gotcha. That's a pretty powerful piece. Now, I'm in a band called Moonshine Mafia. I saw 10 Cent Moonshine. And first off, where do you get 10 Cent Moonshine? Because I would love to have some 10 Cent Moonshine. But that great song, what was the inspiration for this song?
That's great. All right. So 10 Cent Moonshine, I'll talk about the price of it after I tell the story. So I grew up in this little town called Deering. The community was called Pea Ridge. I got a lot of friends and followers in Pea Ridge, family as well. There's a place called Briar Creek. And okay. Briar Creek is the big creek that just kind of runs through the county. A lot of fishing, a lot of snakes, a lot of black water, but probably a lot of shenanigans too going on the creek. Some places. And so I just imagined, that there was a few bars or honky tonks or whatever back home. One was called 221 because it was on Highway 221. But I just was kind of imagining my grandparents. And I didn't fact check any of this, but I'm thinking, all right, what if they were in during the Prohibition? There's no alcohol, but there's somebody cooking up moonshine on Briar Creek somewhere. And so the idea is that all the guys, they get dressed up in their Sunday's best, go out to the shack in the woods near Briar Creek, and they're out there dancing to country music, whatever, and drinking 10 Cent Moonshine. And so after I wrote the song and stuff, I was like, I wonder how accurate that is. And so, so I looked up how much was like a drink of moonshine or a shot of moonshine during the Prohibition, and I think it was like $1 to $2. So I was off by order of magnitude. Just
it's not a shot; it's a sip.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want a shot of moonshine? You sip it.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh goodness! Don't try to tell me.
So I think that's Tom's favorite.
That is my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was about a girl that I dated in high school. Um, and we were getting towards the end of high school, and we started talking about our future plans, and all of a sudden, when she started describing her plans, they were kind of going in a different direction where I was going, and there was no way that we were going to meet on our two plans. So that was kind of the break. That was the how we were realizing that we were about to break up, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And so that's kind of where that went or
Gotcha.
came from.
Awesome. All right. Getting serious. Trail of Tears. Uh, this song, I listened to it as soon as you and I talked. I was listening through your music, and then I got to Trail of Tears, and I was like, man, this is powerful stuff. I've got to know where this came from because it's some very very heavy hitting lyrics. How did that come about?
So that the Trail of Tears is different from the others that are
Absolutely.
out there. And I debated whether or not I wanted to release it on this EP because it doesn't match up well with the other songs. But I wrote that in coordination with my aunt that lives in California. I had a grandfather on my mother's side, and he was a Seneca Indian or Seneca. There's two different pronunciations, but he was a brawler. Uh, he lived in bars, loved the bar fights, and he was just a rough guy. He was in the Korean War. But some of that stuff followed him home, and if you listen closely to the lyrics, that's what he's talking. That's what the song's kind of going through. Some of that rough stuff that he brought home with him,
Gotcha.
with his family, and so, but I didn't know much about my grandfather. My mom passed away a few years ago, and so I called the oldest living relative that knew him, and my aunt Gay. She lives out in California, and we kind of talked for about an hour and a half, and I'm just taking notes on everything, just trying to put together the story. I wanted to know, when did he become so mean and stuff, and he's a mean man, and he wasn't scared of anybody or anything. But yeah, we put together a lot of the pieces and just kind of formed the song around it.
Nice. What did she think when she heard it?
So I let her hear a rough draft of it first, and she really liked it. She thought it told the story well, and then I went through months of iterations of this song, added some production to it a little bit,
Yeah.
and then after it was all released, I let her listen to it again. And the the root of it is still there, the original rough draft that she heard, but now it's like fully produced. So
Gotcha.
yeah, it's a big difference.
Yeah. Absolutely great song. Second time around or second time through. Absolutely great EP. If you know anything about DistroKid, it is put on all platforms. Make sure you go to YouTube, subscribe to these guys. Make sure that you're going to Spotify, subscribe to these guys, share it, listen to it, get in contact with Adam, and tell him what you're thinking about it and how it impacted you. I know listening to these songs, I can relate to some of the stuff that's going on, and it's just like I said, really, Daddy's Home and Trail of Tears, really, both of them really, really spoke to me deeply, and it just that was kind of a selling point realistically for me to talk. I want to talk to someone who's got some meaning behind what they're saying, and these were deep, deep lyrics on the things that he was talking about. So again, go to Adam McCorkle. You can find him on Spotify. You can find him on YouTube, and like I said, it's all over the place on any streaming site that you're dealing with.
Yeah, I think it's like 20 some
Yeah,
odd
it's a
sites.
lot.
Yeah, yeah.
So just make sure that you're sharing, liking, comment, and follow these guys, and just make sure that you giving them some love. So that's the EP. If you got anything that's coming out later on,
Yeah, me and Tom need to get busy.
yeah,
Usually the after you know, the end of the summer kind of gets slow with gigs. Fall picks up a little bit, and then the winter just kind of dies out. And so I think I've been waiting for the winter to come around to start writing again. I've got some ideas, some hooks here and there, but me and Tom are going to sit down and this winter around the fire pit and crank out a few. I think, but I think this time we're going to spend a lot more time with it. You know, the
Okay.
first this the album's second time through, the name was kind of fitting for both of us because kind of talking about this whole, you know, we played music younger, did the whole family life, and now we're coming back to it. It's our second time through. I really wanted to get some music out there, and now that I've kind of learned the process, I want us to take our time and just like hammer out some things and make them perfect.
Well, first time doing it. That's a pretty good first time.
Thanks.
Doing all the recording and everything. So yeah, definitely be proud of that. It's great music. Absolutely love it. So what's going on with you guys right now?
Well, I'm just working till I retire, and which is I was hoping by now, but I'm gonna wait a couple more years, and Adam, he's gonna probably beat me to the chase, and then hopefully we'll kick it into high gear and hit the road.
Yeah, I've so I left the Augusta area in the mid '90s, came up to Atlanta to go to school at Georgia Tech. Got a couple degrees in electrical engineering. I attempted to stay in the music industry. I learned how to design amplifiers, speakers, and microphones, those kind of things. But then when I was coming out of college, those types of jobs, they were few and far between, and the pay was real low.
Gotcha.
You were doing it because you had the passion for that, and so somehow or another I ended up in defense contracting, and I've done that for almost 25 years, and I have an option to retire at 25 years of service. It's an early retirement, which happens at the end of next year. And my goals is, if everything goes right, is to retire out early and then do music full time.
That is awesome. Now, are you on a tour, or what are you gonna do there? Are you just gonna keep it local? Or?
Maybe a little bit. It's interesting. About half my online followers are back home in Augusta, and I've never in this capacity played in Augusta, and so I'm talking to a few places there. Okay. We're trying to string about 2 or 3 gigs along the way if we're making the trip out.
Absolutely.
And back. I have a few friends that go do like 5 shows on the Panhandle, and then come back. I wouldn't mind trying that. Give it a shot. Give that road life.
That'd be fun.
So we'll see. We'll see what's in store. I've got a few friends up in Nashville that are playing up there. It's be a good box to check to play in a bar in Nashville.
Good deal. Well, look for that in the near future. Gonna have these guys on tour. So you've got some pretty exciting news that you would like to break out. I'm gonna let you handle that.
Okay. So one night I was driving to a gig, and I work with you as a musician, you know how it is. You've got to knock on doors and land your own gigs. But I've also been fortunate enough to get connected with a couple of agencies that work in the Atlanta area. And one of the agents, her name's Angela with Crest Point Entertainment. She calls me up one day as I'm driving to a gig and says, "Hey, this opportunity came across. This casting agency's looking for somebody in they first said 30s to 40s. This kind of musicians. They wanted real musicians in this film opportunity, and they needed somebody that looked a little rough around the edges. And so I was like, all right, rough around the edges, my middle name right now. So, but the 30s to 40s thing, I'm stretching that a little bit here. So, but yeah, so I got hooked up, and I said, sure. She submitted some of my pictures to the casting agency. I didn't think anything. I thought it was a long shot. And a couple weeks later, um, I get a text message that says, "Hey, click on this link. We're the casting agency," and they were checking availability. And once I clicked on certain dates that I was available, a little bit later, I got a, "Hey, you're booked for this date," and it said, "Be on the lookout for another email." And so I don't know when this email is coming, what information's going to be in it, what questions I'm going to have. And so me and Tom were playing a gig, and actually we were first practicing. We were practicing on a Monday night, and I got an email at like 9 o'clock that said, it was very basic. It was like, "Hey, you need to learn these two songs." It was another "Somebody Done Somebody Wrong" song and "Tush," Susie's Tom. And so I at least knew the songs. I've heard them a lot before. Right. So I started learning them. I got maybe 4 hours of practice with them. Then me and Tom played a gig on a Wednesday night, Pizza Shack up in Dallas, sitting near the Seven Hills area. And when we got home from that gig, I had a text, and it said, "All right, be here at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, and here's the color palette for the TV show. um, you need to bring with you 5 freshly pressed shirts. You can wear blue jeans. They can be of these brands." And so I'm like,
that's pretty specific.
Yeah, so this is like 10:30, 11 o'clock on a Wednesday night, and I got to be at the place at 8 a.m. And so I'm sitting there ironing shirts.
Yeah.
I get about 3 hours of sleep and show up. And luckily for me, a buddy of mine had been invited onto the show too. So
cool.
So when I got there, I hooked up with him, and he's done a lot of this stuff before. So the punchline is, well, what's the show? And the show is Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone. And so when I learned that I was going to be on the show, it was like I'd heard of the show. I obviously had heard of Sylvester Stallone, but I had not watched season 1. And so I was trying to figure out, where can I get it? Where can I buy it? So I watched the whole season, so I knew what the show was about going into it. And then we filmed for about 13 hours. Got there at 8 a.m. and left about 9. And everybody on the set took really good care of you. There's like breakfast buffet, lunch buffet. Everybody's coming around just asking you, "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" And it was just a great experience. Now, we did play the same 2 songs for 13 hours that day. But, I didn't meet Sylvester Stallone, but he was within 3 or 4 feet from me several times. I play. There's in the show. There's a character, Mitch, that owns a bar that they turn into a casino, and they're using the casino to launder money. And the casino has a band. The character Mitch is the lead singer in the band, and so I was hired on to the set to play lead guitar. So it was kind of an interesting day. I got to meet other local musicians. They wanted actual real musicians, so that when you played the parts, you were actually playing the songs, and
awesome.
It wasn't me. So but yeah, got to meet some new musicians from around the Atlanta area. One of the guys from Stone Mountain, and then but at this point, it's like, I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say, I did a lot of filming in Ozark, but then when it came out, it all got cut.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen it yet. Nobody. It's coming out September 15th, which I think we're going to produce this or push this out after that date. So it'll be out by the time you see this. But yeah, I have no idea how many scenes that I'll be in the show, if it's one episode, if it's multiple episodes. Now, and the band was invited back for the last episode of the season, But at the last minute, like a couple of days before, they canceled on us. They said, "Oh, the producers decided to take the show in a different direction." So I
Gotcha.
was hoping to get on that last episode for the season, but maybe there'll be a season 3.
Now, did you do any wardrobe changes to where the possibility of being on more than one episode is there?
Yeah. So we got there, and I told you a story about I needed 5 freshly pressed shirts,
Yes.
and they were like, the music that we were playing to had been recorded in a studio in Nashville, and they're like, all right, this song was recorded with a 1969 Studio Les Paul. This one with a Gibson J45, and they were very specific with the years and the make and models of the guitars. They're like, so if you've got any of those, bring them with you. So I'm like sitting here trying to bring multiple guitars, shirts, blue jeans, and all this stuff, and get on the shuttle bus that takes me from my car over to the set. And then when you get over there, they had a bunch of clothes. It looked like a Goodwill store. There's just racks and racks of clothes. But the lady comes out, looks at you, and says, "Change this, change that." And so I guess I lucked out. Only I changed my shirt. I got to keep the same pants I was wearing, and then did the hair and makeup thing, and then went to set. But to answer your question, it was just I just had one outfit on for the filming. So we'll see. The set was real interesting because you're in this big warehouse, and then you walk through these sets of doors that's like isolation chambers, because it's getting quieter and quieter the closer you get to the set. And when you get on the set, they have all these fog machines, and it's like so thick with fog. But that's how they get the lighting and stuff that they want to in the movies.
Okay,
Is that you get those beaming lights coming up, and so once you got used to it, it was kind of cool. And it's really dark, but except for the lights where they're using for filming. And then I kept smelling incense the whole time. So I'm up on a stage in the casino playing these 2 songs all day, and I kept smelling incense. And I'm like, why are they burning incense? And I looked down, and they have fake cigarettes and ashtrays on the table, and they're incense. And every now and then somebody would pick it up and like pretend like they're smoking and put it down. But yeah, they pretty much burned all day.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it was a really cool experience.
Yeah. Being in a movie or a TV show like that is something I always, that'd be something cool to do, and, walk in the background or whatever. And it was something I always thought I'd want to check the box, a bucket list kind of thing. But this dropped out of the sky from nowhere, and then I did have a speaking part. There's a short speaking part. I don't know if it'll get cut or not.
Nice.
So we'll see. Got to meet a few of the characters on the show. Everybody was super nice. When I first got out there, they were practicing or rehearsing a scene, and I was like, "That's Sylvester Stallone." I keep looking. I'm like, "That's not Sylvester Stallone," and it's his double. And so,
okay, yeah.
like just like a stunt double,
Mhm.
they have a double for him that comes out there and practices everything with the lights and stuff, and gets the lighting and the camera angles and everything right. And then they swap him out with the real Sylvester Stallone, and then he'll you run through the scene about 4 or 5 times, and then they probably similar to recording audio. You take and chop it up and comp it together.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Awesome. That's Tulsa Kings. It's coming out September 15th. So
Season 2.
You can be looking out for Adam McCorkle on that, and hopefully nothing gets cut out of that. Have they said anything about if they're going to continue on with the show?
They said that they don't know yet whether or not they're going to do a season 3, but I guess they always wait to see how the previous season performs.
Gotcha.
It's a great show. It's not to the level of popularity of Yellowstone or Ozark or something, or Breaking Bad, but it could probably get there. It's got potential. So we'll see. Hopefully season 2 does well, and we'll be back at it in season 3.
Nice. Now, you had sent me a magazine article. How did that transpire?
So It's interesting because Tom mentioned he used to play with Roy Saunders. He was originally local from around here. 278 South in Hiram. They made national news, maybe probably not international, national news because they had a a customer one night that got kicked out from being too inebriated. He decided to ram his truck through the front doors. And when all that happened, it made the national news. But then they closed down the bar for about 2 weeks to do repairs and do a little bit of remodeling and stuff. And then when they were ready to reopen, they had a big music festival that day.
Okay.
And they started music early in the morning, or not morning, but mid morning maybe, and had acoustic acts during the day and then transitioned to bands at night. And so I was one of the acoustic acts that day, and I met Roy at that point. And so yeah, that was an interesting kind of event. And there was a lady that was there that was to watch Royce in particular because he was getting popular at the time, and she worked for Beat magazine, Beat Atlanta, and I met her. She listened to a few of the songs I was playing. At the time, I haven't played this one in a while, and I know me and Tom hadn't played it, but I do a slowed down version of Dust on the Bottle, and it's kind of unique. And she really liked that song, and we chatted a little bit. She gave me her card. I didn't realize. I think she's like marketing director or something like that for Beat Atlanta.
Okay.
So anyway, when this opportunity with the show happened, I kind of reached out to her and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing an article?" And so we collaborated, and there's the show Tulsa King, but there's also too. I think there's this underlying story of like kind of like what Tom said. We've been in the corporate industry. Me for 25 years now. Tom probably a little bit longer than me, maybe a year or two longer. And you know, I just decided that I don't want to work until I die, and I want to have some fun before I get too old and can't have fun anymore. And so I feel like there's this transition from the corporate world doing this early retirement into this music industry. And we titled the article From Corporate to Country because I'm either cursed or blessed with this Southern accent, depending on how you look at things. And so the country music aligns well with what I'm doing.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's awesome. Great article. It's the Beat magazine.
Yeah, Beat Atlanta.
Beat Atlanta. Yeah, it's a great article. We'll probably try to incorporate some of that on the show. Absolutely fantastic stuff that you got going on. What would you say in all of your music, or who's your favorite artist that you feel?
You go first.
God.
Yes, I got so many
Oh,
of them.
God.
I'd have to.
I go through phases, and I've went through so many different phases of music. When I was a kid, hair bands were popular. So there was Skid Row, Poison, Warrant, Extreme. I was a big Extreme fan. Nuno Betancourt. I was real big into the guitar players. So Eric Johnson, Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, all those shredder guys just were amazing. I could never play like them, but I enjoyed listening to it. And we had a good, at the time, we had a good music scene going on in Augusta and had a lot of great players. One of my friends, who's probably, I'd probably bet that he's the best guitar player out of Augusta. Jeff Guthrie, he's living up in Nashville now, playing for Sammy Kershaw. But yeah, he was a great influence. He played everything, classical, a lot of the progressive rock, and the country stuff he's doing now. He's always been a great influence on me. Nowadays, I like some of where this. It's hard to put a finger on outlaw country or Americana, whatever you want to call it. There's some styles in there, and some of them are different. But like Cody Jinks is great stuff. I mentioned earlier Whiskey Myers, Stephen Wilson Jr. There's me and Tom went to the Cody Johnson concert in Kennesaw not too long ago. He's a great songwriter.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love a lot of his stuff. But yeah, just to me, it depends on the day of the week. I don't think I could pin it down to one artist.
I'm the same way. I mean, what I grew up with was good stuff. Again, anything from soft music, like, I mean, from Bread to Eagles over to Deep Purple, Alice Cooper. I mean, I loved all that back then. As I got older, I started liking country music, even though, you know, if you landed the Eagles right now on the radio, they would fall into country. But back then they didn't. They landed on top 40, you know, and so I like the mixture, and I love the new, you know, the Cody Jinks, Whiskey Myers, Cody Johnson. I mean, I love those too, because those songs, you can hear them, and you can understand that storyline, and so that's what I like right now. It's kind of the flavor of the week too. So it's just coming out, and you're just like, I like that
It's
too.
always
The
rapid.
list,
Yeah.
the list is so long that, you know, you couldn't pinpoint it down to one person. So it's all good.
Yeah, we're trying to right now. We're trying to freshen up our list. We've probably got close to 100 songs that we kind of transition through in
Nice.
our sets.
That's
But
that's a good number.
but there's a lot of older stuff like Black Crows, older, I guess, relatively speaking. But yeah, like that stuff I grew up on, CCR, things like that. Were even some of the Guns N' Roses stuff. If it's not too crazy,
Yeah.
we're
Like to throw that out there,
we're
see,
trying,
you know,
yeah.
and that's again reading that audience
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love doing it, and then seeing the reaction. That's the best part of this.
It is that's the payoff for sure. And I mean, every crowd is different,
Yeah.
so you've got to stay alert on what you're doing when you're playing these shows. Um, so you guys, you've done it for a good while. You've got a lot of experience. Tom, I'm going to start with you on this. What would be your advice of a young group or just a young artist coming up? What would be your best advice you could give them?
Well, when I was growing up, it was like if you got noticed and got on a record label, I mean, you had to know somebody. And it was hard to get your music out there. If you didn't have any gigs or anything. But nowadays, and it's hard to, you know, it's hard to stick with it when you just kind of like, you feel like you're struggling up a hill. But nowadays with the technology and the social media, um, it's amazing what you can get out there and have somebody recognize you and get it going. And I would say to the young crowd out there, if you love it and it's deep in your heart, stick with it, because it'll come around a second time if it's really in your blood. So
I'll second the technology and the social media. You're a lot better at it than I am, but it's all that's another almost like learning an instrument, learning how to do all the social media, knowing what types of things to push out. Is it too long? Is it too short? What time of day you're pushing it out? There's a whole lot to learn there, and there's a craft and a science to it. I think I haven't spent as much time there, so my following that I have is mostly organic. But I know a lot of people that know how to employ the tricks of the trade and just get out there more and stuff.
Right.
And there's a lot more that I've got to learn. Like you get your. I heard before. You can write the best book in the world, but if you have a poor marketing plan, nobody will ever read it. Same thing with music. You got to get it out there, and you got to figure out how to get it in front of more and more people. And I've still got a lot of work to do there, but I'm learning all about how you go about getting on playlists on Spotify, and like I said, you got certain times of the day that the Facebook algorithm and Instagram and stuff will be nice to you and do this, don't do that. So it's a lot to learn. It's like another instrument. It really is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, as we get close to winding down, before we get into finding out how we can get in touch with you guys, Tom? Is there anything you wanna add or?
Just look him up, and I'll be following
him. All right. Well, how can we find you guys? What are you guys
on? The thing that I keep most current is Facebook. I'm having gigs at least weekly. Every now and then I take a weekend off. Like I said, me and Tom are doing about two or three duo gigs a month, and Facebook is what's I keep most up to date, but I'm getting my Instagram presence caught up. I've got more and more followers now on Instagram, so I'm turning more attention there. I do have my own website, but it kind of is just a pointer to Facebook and everything else. Some stuff's in YouTube, but we can certainly, when this goes live, we can put some things in the comments, links in the comments.
Absolutely, absolutely. Guys, again, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. It's extremely important to be able to put new artists, the older artists, the people that are coming back the second time around, knowing that it never leaves your blood and you get a hunger for this and you want to do it. So it's freaking awesome to be able to have the local bands of Georgia and helping all these artists get seen. So we're going to put the links to where you can find Adam. And I can't thank you enough. It's very important for us to be able to plug the local venues that we're going to. Like I'm wearing Hangar 92 right here. So the venues that you're going to, put them out there. Look at where Adam and Tom are playing on a regular basis and go see them. Say that, hey, I like what you're doing. I heard the music on Spotify. I heard it on YouTube or whatever platform that you're listening to. And just spread the word about these guys because what they're doing is extremely important. And we just want you to make sure that you're a part of the scene of what they're trying to accomplish. And if you're young and you want to do it, go back through and listen to this interview. Listen to some of the nuggets that they have put forth. These guys have done it for a long time, and they're getting another second shot at it, and we're super excited of what they've got coming on in the future. Again, this has been Adam McCorkle, and we've got Tom Dickenson, and we've just had a great time doing this. Thank you for joining another episode of Local Bands of Georgia.